Here's my latest add-on named Crayon. It will allow you to vertex paint very easily based on materials or just your selection. Vertex paint mode, if you're not aware, is something that you can see when you're in the solid mode. And you usually just get these gray objects. But if you want to do vertex paint, you can pick a color and go ahead and paint on some objects. It's a little funky because of the way that it's assigned, but I've seen it used for some different things. But what I've got here is a utility that allows you to do this very quickly for things like even if you want to set the entire thing really quick, the entire object to one color, you pick your color and we'll map that current object. If you want to do multiple objects, we can do those multiple objects. This should give you some ability to play around with colors for whatever purpose you need them in solid mode. This is going to be a much higher performance way to do things than running around with your materials. So if you need to separate your object somehow visually, you can quickly add the colors to whatever suits you inside solid mode and just give them a current color. But what I built this add-on for was to take objects like this that have multiple materials and turn them into multiple colors in Vertex Paint, which you can do, but takes a lot of steps, and if you have a lot of objects to do, it's going to take you some time. So that's why I created the utility. If we tab into one of these things, you can see that they have a bunch of geometry. This is all just one object, right? So if I take some of these faces and I try to pull them out, so I can take a few of them. It's all connected, right? So I would have to separate by material first and then choose them and stuff, and that's all an option. But what I've done here is allowed you to select multiple objects with multiple materials on them. We will hit load materials and it's going to pull in all the materials of the objects that are selected, and then for each of those materials it pulls their base color. So if we come over here and we look at some of these materials, that one doesn't show the base color. This one does. You can see that green up here for the green paint, right? And it's going to pull that color as the default color, but then you can set the color to whatever you want. So that one's supposed to be a blue. Let's just go ahead and set it to a blue. This one's the indigo. Let's set it to something like that. Go ahead and make sure your objects are selected, and you can map colors by material. Now, you didn't see anything right away. That's because we're still in this material mode. We come over here, and then in the solid mode, we can see all the vertex colors. So because I had this option on the split by materials, what it did is it automatically separated these into separate objects by material. So now if I select everything here, hit P, and just say by loose parts, we'll be able to see that these are all separated because anything that was contiguous with by material is now a separate object. You'll notice that this also automatically sets the origin to the bottom. I find this useful on a lot of different applications based on whatever you're doing in your workflow. But if for whatever reason you don't want to use the bottom origin, you are free to remove that. Same thing with the split by materials. If for some reason you want to set the colors based on material, but you don't want the geometry to be split up, like I showed where you can have have them as loose parts. I mean, it's still joined as one object, but the geometry is split up. Then you can separate that out as well, or choose to not select that. I will caution you though that the way that Vertex Paint works is that if you don't do that split, you might end up with some funky results when you do the Vertex Paint. One last feature I haven't mentioned here, if for some reason you don't want to pick your colors, but you want to use some presets, we've got some presets here. So which one is this? This one is it was the green. And the colors do come in darker here because there's no lighting. Not that big of a deal. But we got the green. If we wanted to change that to white instead of using the color, I've got those presets here. There's a reason for that, but you know, if it works for you, that's great. So we can do that. You can do that across the board. The important thing to remember is that when you select multiple objects and you set these colors, it's going to map the colors to these materials for all the objects that you have selected at once. So if for some reason you wanted it to map to one color on an object, but you wanted the same material to map to a different color on a different object, then do those in separate operations. I hope you found these useful. If there's a feature that you need, it's going to save you a lot of time. Let me know what it is. I might be able to get it in there and help people in the future.